right, guys, Ketch here. As I talked about in the intro, we're going to be installing a winch on the Pioneer today. Also got my guest here with me. There's Kevin over there. He's hanging out. So what I got is a KFI Stealth. I showed you the pictures at the beginning of the video. 4,500 pound with synthetic rope. Everything you need comes in it. Comes with your mounting kit, all your nuts, bolts, and a beer.
Supplied by me.
Yeah, Kevin brought me beer for this video. So I went through, I read a little bit ahead, and I grabbed all the tools we're gonna need. So we'll go over that right now so you guys can just prepare for this if you guys have to install. You'll need a small point Phillips head, 10 millimeter wrench. I have a ratchet wrench, a 1/4 inch wrench, a 4 millimeter hex head, a 5 millimeter hex head, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16, and 17. And then I got 1/4 inch drive in, 3/8 inch drive. That seems to be all we're gonna need until we get to the electrical components. And I haven't started that because that may be this may be a 2-segment video because it looks like it's gonna take a little bit of time. To start, you gotta remove your front bumper. You got a bolt here, your 5 millimeter cap screw here, and then 2 12 millimeter bolts in the back. You don't need wrenches for these. The nuts are welded to the frame on the back side. So you got the same bolts and cap screws on the other side. So we're gonna start, we gotta pull that bumper off to start, and then we'll go see what we got next. All right, guys, so we got the bumper off. And next step is pretty simple, just as much. So we're gonna take out these 2 bolts next, our differential mount, and we're gonna mount our winch bracket there. As the instructions show us, we're gonna be grabbing this guy. And we're gonna mount it there using the supplied bolts. We're not gonna be using the ones that are on there. So we'll be using the M10 bolts, washers, and lock washers. So, and it says from figure 1. So you go back and it's friggin' showing you these guys right here. So, back to it. All right, so as you see, we got it installed. You saw me struggling. This bolt was going in tight. If you look at the factory one that I took out, it's cross-threaded. And I should have looked before I put the new one in, because now my new one's cross-threaded. I could have tapped out those threads. But it's in, and I don't ever really plan on taking it out unless something breaks and I have to remove the diff. But at that point, I'll just unbolt the bracket from the diff right there. Ooh, it's dark down there, isn't it, guys? So we got our bracket in. Let's move on to the next step. All right, guys, on to the next step. Just had to prep a couple things. So our cool guest would like to help. So he's gonna do this part. I will record and talk when need to. So it's having us mount our cables ahead of time, because once the winch is on its bracket, this guy, you can't get to one of those bolts. So we're gonna go blue to blue. It's got a little cool color-coded stud there. Yeah, go ahead, leave it loose-ish. No, that'll work. That's actually, yeah.
I think that's...
We've got it.
Maybe. Here we go.
And yeller to yeller. It says typically people use the blue and the yellow because they're the longer wires, and I can zip tie any excess up. It does come with one more wire. It's shorter. It comes with 2 wires, sorry. These are much shorter, but I'm gonna mount these kind of higher up. So I'll be using these for the battery. So there we go. We got our 2 wires mounted. Next, it's having us mount our winch to the bracket. that we looked at a second ago. Also, if your winch terminals come close to hitting the frame, you might have to rotate the end cap and motor housing 90 degrees. Excuse me. So to do that, you would take these two cap screws out right here, and this whole motor assembly would come loose, and you'd rotate it, and I'm assuming, based on my knowledge as a mechanic, there's two more threaded holes at the 90-degree position for these two cap screws to go into. Might not be able to see them that great. It's kind of dark, but they're here. Next, we're gonna go to the bracket. I already said that though. So here's our bracket. It looks as though we're going, rotate that for me. Yes. Like that. So it's picky. It doesn't tell you which way to face it, but if you look at the shape of our bracket here with the U shapes down and you turn your winch to match like I asked him to do on the table so it looks like the picture, you can figure it out. And it says, attach your winch to the winch mount bracket with the shorter hardware supplied with your winch. Well, these guys are really good. With the shorter hardware supplied. So it's referring to this. You got a long one and a short one. They didn't describe that very well. Sorry, guys. So we're going to use the shorter ones. And it says install the rear bolts only. So washer and a lock nut. Washer and a lock nut. And we're going in that position. It has adjustable holes for those different size winches. If you get the smaller ones, the rear bolts. These two.
Well.
Excuse me.
From your angle, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
See, I don't know, Tim. I don't know what's going on here.
I need an adult. Says tighten these bolts as you will not have access to them after the winch and winch mount are assembled in place. Those should be 13s.
Well, wouldn't you know it? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Give them suckers a good old tightening. So while he's doing that, this winch is pretty darn good. I'll go over the specs more in the end of the video when we sit down and talk about it again, but this thing has a free spool and engage. I know some of the cheaper winches don't, but this one's pretty darn good so far. 4,500 pounds, the nylon winch rope. Man, this thing's looking cool already. I can't wait to get it on here and test it out. So we got those tightened up. We'll move on to the next step. It says that we're gonna place the winch assembly into the location as shown in figure 7. So here's figure 7. You guys will have these instructions, so we don't really need to focus on them too much. But once it's in place, we're gonna temporarily place the supplied M10 bolts, which we used some of those earlier. Here we go. In place loosely to assure correct alignment. So we're gonna need those for testing. Once it's all aligned, we're gonna be tightening the longer hardware bolts supplied with our winch into that bracket. So, is that bracket threaded? No. I will get back to you. I'm back and I'm an idiot as usual. These pictures are really hard to look at. Those longer bolts are actually gonna go into the front. Through the small bracket that we mounted earlier, into that bracket, into the winch. So we're gonna slap that sucker into place. Okay, put the bracket downwards. Yeah, like that. So it looks like we are not hitting the frame with our cables. Oh, there we go. Looks like we're free of the frame from all angles. It's dark down here. No frame, no frame. I thought I had good light in here. Guess I gotta get more. So we're gonna put our M10s into place to line it up. Now we're gonna tighten those. Ooh. Give them some good tightenings. So I didn't see any torque specs in the instructions. If you want actual torque specs, you can look up the bolt torque spec. You can Google it. Just Google bolt torque specs and then go off of the M10 size torque spec, and that's generally going to be the spec that you want to use for that.
Or you could always just use a German spec, which is
Guten
just
tight. Which we all know that's what we use. So now we got that mounted. So as you can see, we got our winches in there, looking really clean. So on to the next step. So now we're gonna install our fairlead to the bumper. This is an adapter plate for if you have a different size bumper with the 4.875 bolt pattern. We have the 6-inch bolt pattern, so we're gonna mount this directly to our bumper. It tells us to use, excuse me, with the 3/8 bolts and the nut, 16 nut, 3/8, 16 and the nut. So this is what we're gonna use right here. There should be 2 of them, and we're gonna go ahead and mount that now. So what we're gonna do, what we got left, is we're gonna take our winch cables. So I already kind of started a bit. I ran them across the frame, so it's hard to see under here. But I ran them up over our arm and out of the way of any moving parts, and then straight across underneath the fan shroud. So I ran them up and over, and I'll show you guys later. I'll use a light. We're gonna go up and into our area, our compartment under here. So from there, we're gonna mount our contactor. Our wires are gonna come up through this access hole, and our contactor is gonna go right here. And that's gonna be, we're gonna put the bumper back on, and that's probably gonna be it for the night, because I'm actually gonna run a separate circuit for key power, because they want me to tap into an existing circuit, and I don't want to do that because it'll put an additional strain on that circuit. So I'm gonna find my key power and create a second accessory circuit, and I'll probably run a new fuse box so that way if I add any other accessories, which I'm going to, it'll be pre-wired for it. So all I have to do is plug and play. So without further ado, we're gonna get these wires ran, zip tied up, nice and pretty. We're gonna drill holes and mount our contactor and put our bumper back on, guys. All right, folks. So we got our wire hidden. So I don't know how well you can see. We're gonna slap our light here and we're gonna go over it a little bit on this side. So, like I said, our cable ran across the top right here. I zip tied. Oh, sorry, wrong cables, folks. So back down here, the cables ran across the top. You might be able to see them, but they come across and I brought them up right here. Now this cable runs through a bracket on the frame. I ran those wires, cables through the bracket and looped them around this coolant wire hose. So we're not making full contact with this hose. Zip tied it to the frame here. Sorry, my camera's all over the place. Zip tied it to the frame there. Kept going up to where we came out. Here. So, hold on. So in there's our two cables. They come across and they come out of our hole. So, like I said, we're gonna come back to these later. So for now, they're just wrapped around. So now that the cables are in place, they're hidden, they're zip tied. It's not the best, not the easiest thing to see. So they come off the motor, they go up, and then across to that other side where we just were. So. So now you're gonna put your stop on the end of your cable. You use the 4 nuts and bolts here that you got, your 4mm cap screw and your 10mm nut. So you're gonna place it on there wherever you want it. If you want a little bit of length or if you want it right at the end, which is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put it right at the end. All right, guys. When I do this, I like to do 2 one way, 2 the other way. That way, if 1 comes out or 2 come out, say these 2 come out, I still got 2 going the opposite direction. It's, I don't know, it's just the way I do it, even at work. So now we got the hook. It's pretty simple. And put your hook through. Take a shot.
Even the ducks are laughing.
Yeah, the ducks are laughing, aren't they? Put your cotter pin in. Use your man hands and bend your cotter pin. Boom, you're done. With that part, at least. All right, guys. So I'm at my stopping point for the night. do a quick synopsis, go over exactly everything that's set up and what we're prepped for and what we're gonna see in the second part install video. So we got it all in there. We got our rope there retracted. We did a quick connection so that way we could retract it and get it in there nice and tight. So our rope's in where it's supposed to be. So we got our contactor or switch, whatever you feel like calling it, installed in the recommended location, and that's due to where these cables come out. So I didn't connect these cables coming from the winch because I don't like how long they are, all the excess length. So when we come back for our next video, I'm actually going to be cutting these shorter to where they line straight up to our switch. Same thing goes for the battery cables. They're about 2 foot long, roughly. And that's, I mean, we just have to go from here to here. So we're going to cut those shorter as well. Like I was saying earlier, I'm going to run a whole new circuit. I don't want to tie into my accessory circuit. I don't like splicing into main harnesses. So I'm going to create an additional power source from key power. I'll find the key power in here and I'll tap into the actual bottom of the fuse panel where the wire is connected. I won't actually be doing any cutting or splicing. Creating a whole nother circuit up here off of key power and wiring this guy up. When we come back with all that, we'll be mounting our switch on our dash and running our wires up to our contact and our plug on our dash for our controller cable. So, and again, here's those cables. They're quite long. So everything's a mess because we had our taco break while we were working. But for now, guys, that's it. I'm going to take this out tomorrow, so we'll have some footage there. But that's all we're going to do tonight. It's real late. And like I said, I need to run my own circuit, so I got to get some additional stuff. So, thanks for watching, guys. This is Catch. There's no Kimmy D in this video. Sorry about that. And that's Kevin.
Later.
Thanks for watching, guys.